Let me pose a question to you. If a severe storm strikes tonight, do you know what to do? If your smoke alarm goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning, does your family know how to get out? Hello and welcome to Hall County Connection. I'm Scott Cagle. Today I'll be your host, filling in for Nikki Young while she's off on special assignment. Today's show will cover two very important topics: winter fire safety and severe weather awareness. You know, with the cold temperatures among us, it's always a good idea to brush up on your fire safety. Again, do you know what to do? Does your family know how to get out of a burning house? Better yet, do you know how to prevent those fires from ever happening in the first place? Today I'll have with me Beverly Walker, who is Fire and Life Safety Educator for Hall County. And you know, the claps of thunder and the flashes of lightning are soon around the corner for Hall County, and it seems when severe weather is always around, Hall County is in the thick of things. Today with me I'll have Fire Chief David Kimbrell, who also serves as the Hall County Emergency Management Director. As you can tell, we have a lot to cover, so let's get started. More than 4,000 Americans die each year, and another 20,000 are injured in fires, and of course most of these fires occur in residential structures. During the winter months, fires seem to increase due to our needs to heat our homes. When people get cold, they will do whatever is necessary to stay warm, and many times this means throwing safety out the window. 82% of fire deaths occur at home. Now remember, this is where we feel the safest, most comfortable, and where we spend most of our time. Now these national statistics hit home because they hold true right in our own backyard. Hall County residents have experienced death and destruction year after year, and most of these fires and fire fatalities again happen in the winter months. But here's the bright side of the matter. Most of these fires can be prevented. This means your home, your investment, doesn't have to burn. This means your personal belongings don't have to go up in smoke. And this means your loved ones do not have to perish in a fire. The last couple of years, the economy has taken a turn for the worse. And what that means for firefighters is citizens a lot of times look for alternative heating sources. That means a rise in fireplaces, space heaters, electric space heaters, and kerosene heaters. So what does that mean to us? It means more fires. It does create a bigger problem for Hall County firefighters. And with me today will be Beverly Walker talking about these issues. Beverly, thanks for being here today.
Sure, Scott. Thanks for having me.
I know you've just come from one of our county schools today, and you've been very busy talking to those kids. So again, I just appreciate you taking the time out today.
Sure, glad to do it. I'm glad to do it.
Let's jump right into this. You know, we mentioned space heaters first. You know, there's been a numerous rise in fires this winter already, and we've still got a couple of months to go. We'll talk about kerosene heaters first. What are some of the things as an educator and also as an investigator, what do you see out in the field and what do you teach our children as far as kerosene heaters go?
Well, a lot of times people think that kerosene heaters are bad or that any kind of space heater is bad, and that certainly is not true. It's how we use it, making sure that we properly maintain it. Kerosene heaters, one of the biggest things about that, of course, is the fuel that you use in the kerosene heater. Not too long ago, there was a fire in Philadelphia where 7 people were killed, and it was because they were trying to refuel the kerosene heater using gasoline. And of course, that was a very, very dangerous and, of course, deadly mistake for them. K1 kerosene, it's a very clear kerosene. It's a very clear liquid. It burns very clean, and that's the whole point in using that. Making sure that there's plenty of clearance around that space heater, that kerosene heater, 3 feet. Is the minimum that we like for people to have. Or that's anything that will burn, anything that's combustible, whether it's the upholstery or bedding or anything that will burn. Certainly you want to make sure that there's plenty of clearance around that kerosene heater. Refilling the heater should be done outside when the heater is cool. Don't try to refuel it inside when it's on, because again, that can be a very deadly and dangerous mistake. Store the kerosene outside as well. Don't store it inside the house. Make sure that you do keep it outdoors. All that should take place outside. Carefully bring the heater inside. My mother uses a kerosene heater. She keeps it on the fireplace hearth, which is a perfect place for it. It's up and off the carpet, and we do keep that 3-foot clearance for her around that kerosene heater. So it's how we use it. A lot of times making sure that we do the right thing with that heater, making sure it's UL approved when you buy that kerosene heater, that it's been tested by a testing laboratory such as Underwriters, making sure that it is safe to use and it's going to do what it says it will do in a very safe way.
You mentioned about keeping that kerosene outside. We have certainly seen people, they say, well, it's not in the living area, we keep it in the basement or we keep it in the garage. That's still not a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea to store any kind of flammable liquids inside your home. And kerosene, even though you're putting it in your heater, kerosene by itself is still a flammable liquid. And so certainly we encourage people to keep those things outside, keep them away from the house, whether it's in a storage building. I know it may seem very inconvenient to do that, but inconvenient is when your house burns.
Right.
And this is what we are trying to keep from happening. So a little bit of inconvenience is not necessarily a bad thing.
Now, you said the 3-foot clearance. You're going to hear, the listeners are going to hear this 3-foot rule, so to speak, throughout our talk today, more than likely. When you talk about 3 feet, you mentioned the drapes and the curtains and furniture. But that also goes into the ways sometimes people use kerosene heaters as far as drying their clothes and things of that nature.
Heaters are heaters. They're meant to heat the home. They're not meant to dry your clothes or to back up to get really warm. A lot of times people try to get up close to that heater, and the next thing you know, their clothing or their shirt tail has caught on fire, or they try to drape their clothes or lay their clothes in front of it to, again, trying not to use the big dryer in the house, so they try to use a little space heater. Certainly that is a danger. That 3-foot clearance is a pretty hard and fast rule when it comes to any kind of alternative heating, such as kerosene heaters or electric space heaters or even fireplaces.
Now, you do a lot of work with the Burn Foundation as well. Again, with these kerosene heaters, and we're fixing to spill over into electric heaters as well. Again, goes back to that 3-foot clearance. We also have to watch with our pets and our children around kerosene heaters as well.
Yes, very much so. The heater itself gets hot, and even though there's you can't get right at the heating coils inside of the heater, all that heater gets hot, and you touch it. Certainly, whether it is a child or your pet can get burned, and so making sure that it's off limits and that you have kind of devised a way to make sure that it's off limits to all those the little ones in the house.
Well, with that said, we'll go into electric heaters as well, and they're called electric heaters, electric space heaters, portable heaters. There's a lot of different terminology out there a lot of times when people go out to buy these things. And again, you bring up a great point as far as UL listing. I've heard of horror stories where people go to a yard sale and they'll buy a heater. Lord knows where it came from, who built it, how old it is. So some things that you need to look out for as electric heaters go, same thing apply. 3-foot clearance, making sure it's in good working order, make sure it's clean. With an electric heater, you're going to have that, a lot of times the face of that heater is going to be open. You're going to have dust and cobwebs form. So, the cold months start, fall is upon us, and people just start plugging up those heaters and cutting them on, and they smell this little smell, and it's, oh, I think there's a fire, and they really just forgot to clean that heater off. Also, with electric heaters, it's very important to look at the wiring of it. When you plug that wire into the wall, have you even looked to see if it's frayed? If you see copper wiring through that plastic wiring, you shouldn't be using it. That could cause a fire, it could cause electric shock hazard, and also, where you put them. As far as kerosene heaters go, electric space heaters go, they need to be on a sturdy surface. You said your mom putting on the mantle there of the fireplace. Perfect area for that. It's not going to tip over. If they do tip over, there's a feature that a lot of the newer styles have, and of course it needs to shut off by itself, an emergency shut off. I have heard of people putting them in their bathrooms, which of course we don't recommend. It can fall over into the sink, it can fall over into the bathtub. Yes, again, it goes back to the inconvenience thing. It is colder in the wintertime. That tile floor is cold on your feet, but you really have to be careful with electric heaters.